The front door clicked at 6:12 p.m. The exact minute the winter sun slipped behind the tall pines behind the Harrington house. Cole Harrington, still wearing his designer parka dusted with aspen snow, dragged his suitcase across the hardwood floor as if nothing in the world could ever go wrong for him. His iPhone was buzzing nonstop. Lydia, the woman he'd spent Christmas with, was already texting hearts, selfies, and a photo of the champagne they'd shared just hours earlier. He smirked. He loved when life bent to his desires like this: money, power, a young mistress, and a wife who never dared oppose him. "Rachel?" he called casually, expecting the soft, hesitant reply he'd grown used to ignoring. But the house was silent. Not the peaceful silence of a warm home, but the cold, hollow kind, like everything inside had stopped breathing. He stepped into the living room. The Christmas tree stood in the corner, but the lights were unplugged. No leftover wrapping paper. No toys on the rug. No smell of cinnamon candles Rachel always lit during the holidays. A wrongness hung in the air. "Rachel?" he repeated, louder now. His voice echoed back at him. He reached the kitchen and froze. On the marble island was a single manila envelope, his name written in Rachel's delicate handwriting. Beside it lay Noah's favorite stuffed fox, the one their 5-year-old son never slept without. Cole's stomach tightened for the first time in years. He opened the envelope, slowly, carelessly at first. Then frantically, inside, divorce papers, a formal request for full custody, and a certified court document stating their son's legal last name had been changed from Noah Harrington to Noah Monroe. Monroe, Rachel's maiden name. He blinked. His breath hitched. This had to be a mistake, a joke, a bluff, something he could erase with a phone call. But Rachel didn't bluff. Not the Rachel he controlled. Not the Rachel he silenced. Not the Rachel he left alone on Christmas while he whispered sweet lies to another woman. His hands trembled as he reached for his phone to call Rachel. But the number rang once, twice, then went straight to voicemail. And then he noticed something he had missed before. Every closet door in the hallway stood wide open, empty. Rachel hadn't left him. She had vanished with their son. And she had taken his legacy, his name, and his power with her. But the part Cole didn't know yet, the part that would destroy him, was still waiting in the next room. Rachel Monroe had always moved quietly through life, as if afraid the world would shatter if she breathed too loudly. Growing up in a small Ohio town with little more than hand-me-down clothes and a sketchbook she carried everywhere, she learned early that survival meant shrinking herself. When her parents died in a freeway accident when she was 19, she didn't have anyone left, no siblings, no extended family that stayed in touch. Just debt, grief, and a worn-out suitcase. She met Cole Harrington 2 years later at a corporate charity gala. She had been working as part of the event staff, carrying trays of champagne she wasn't allowed to drink. Cole noticed her quiet smile and soft voice. He said, it made him want to protect her. She believed him. She was 21, alone, and aching for stability. Marriage to a wealthy, confident man seemed like safety, like a home she had never truly had. But safety turned into a cage. Once they married, Cole slowly pulled her out of the world. She quit her art classes, then her barista job, then her freelance illustration work to focus on the household. He said it was because he made enough for both of them. His family called her the charity case he was trying to fix. And Cole, always so calm in public, became sharp and impatient behind closed doors. A slammed door here, a raised voice there, a glass shattered when she disagreed with him. Each small moment chipped away at her until her confidence was dust. When Noah was born, Rachel thought motherhood would change Cole. Maybe children softened men, maybe fathers learned gentleness. But Cole's love for Noah was performative, shown only in photos he posted online or at family gatherings. At home, he was distant, easily irritated by a crying baby, annoyed when Rachel looked tired, dismissive whenever she asked for help. This Christmas, when Noah came down with a fever, Rachel spent the night at the edge of his bed, pressing cool cloths to his forehead, whispering stories until he fell asleep. She had messaged Cole to come home early. He texted back, busy with clients, don't be dramatic. She had stared at that message for a long minute, her fingers trembling from exhaustion. Rachel didn't scream. She didn't argue. She simply stopped believing the man she married was someone she needed to protect her. Still, she kept moving softly. Carefully, invisibly, it was how she survived. But in the early dawn hours of the day she left, something in her changed. Maybe it was Noah whispering, "Mommy, don't cry." Maybe it was the quiet house that felt less like home and more like a museum of disappointments. Maybe it was the fear of losing her son to a man who viewed him as an accessory. Whatever it was, Rachel packed not just clothes and documents, but the pieces of courage she didn't know she still had. What she didn't know was that someone had seen her leave, and that person wasn't supposed to know anything at all. The Harrington house sat on the edge of a wealthy Connecticut neighborhood, the kind of place where every driveway had a luxury SUV and every porch was decorated by professionals. Holiday wreaths, white string lights, manicured lawns, everything looked perfect. Picture perfect. Painfully perfect. The kind of perfect that made neighbors whisper, "What a beautiful family," without knowing anything at all. It was the kind of neighborhood where people smiled politely but didn't ask questions, where appearances mattered more than honesty, and where a woman like Rachel could disappear in plain sight. For years, this house had been Rachel's entire world. The kitchen, with marble counters she wasn't allowed to scratch. The living room, where Cole arranged furniture to match his taste. The master bedroom, where she slept on the far edge of the mattress so she wouldn't disturb his rest. Even the art studio she once tried to create in the sunroom had been quietly shut down when Cole said it made the house look messy. The walls were beautiful, but they had watched her break. It wasn't until she walked through the house one last time that she realized how suffocating it had all become. The silence echoed. Even the Christmas decorations, still half up, half forgotten, felt like props for a life she had been pretending to live. And yet, for the world outside, this house symbolized comfort and success. Cole's colleagues from Manhattan loved attending the Harrington holiday parties, drinking expensive wine under chandeliers, bragging about investment portfolios and Aspen vacations. Lydia, the young mistress, had even been at a party once, though Rachel hadn't known at the time. She remembered a pair of wide, curious eyes watching her across the room. Now she understood why. But the most dangerous part of this setting wasn't the wealth. It was the illusion. Illusions can hide bruises that aren't physical. Illusions can silence a woman who has nowhere else to go. And illusions can easily convince people that the husband with the charming smile is the good one, and the quiet wife is the problem. That was the world Rachel had lived in. And ironically, it was this same world that helped her leave. Because wealth creates distance, and distance creates blind spots. Cole was so confident in his control, so certain Rachel would never challenge him, that he didn't notice the small things. Her packing old sketchbooks into grocery bags, her collecting Noah's medical files, her copying documents onto a USB drive she hid inside a children's book. But someone noticed. As Rachel carried the last box to her old Toyota the morning she fled, a figure across the street paused. Dr. Adrian Wells, who lived 3 houses down, was loading gym bags into his car. He wasn't trying to snoop, he simply saw what no one else cared to see. Rachel wasn't carrying Christmas donations or storing decorations. She was leaving, alone, with a child half asleep in her arms. And Adrian, who had lived his own version of silence and heartbreak, felt something twist sharply in his chest. He didn't say a word that morning, but he would become the one person Cole never expected her to have. Cole Harrington had perfected the art of double living. To the outside world, he was the disciplined CFO with the icy control of a man who always calculated 5 steps ahead. His colleagues admired his precision, his ability to talk numbers like poetry, and his spotless suits that matched the polished marble floors of his Manhattan office. His family praised his leadership, his decisiveness, his clean image. They called him the future of the Harrington legacy. But nobody understood how much darkness a clean image could hide. Cole liked control the way other men liked, whiskey smooth, burning, addictive. He liked Rachel, quiet, agreeable, small. He liked Noah, present enough for photo opportunities but not enough to disrupt his life. And he liked Lydia. Oh, he liked Lydia in ways he didn't fully admit, even to himself. Not because she was beautiful or young, but because she admired him the way Rachel no longer did. Lydia laughed at his jokes, clung to his arm, made him feel powerful. She didn't know the real Cole either. Not yet. For months, Cole had been crafting the perfect narrative. A devoted husband trapped with a fragile wife who couldn't handle stress. A father doing his best despite emotional instability at home. He had been preparing this story carefully, sprinkling it into conversations with coworkers, friends, even his own parents. He wanted people to believe Rachel was unraveling. Because if things ever went wrong, he needed a villain, and it couldn't be him. Lydia had no idea she wasn't the only one being manipulated. The Aspen trip was supposed to be flawless. A winter fantasy with fireplace kisses, hot chocolate, and a luxury suite overlooking the mountains. Lydia thought it meant he was serious about her. Cole thought of it as a reward for himself. A small celebration before he set a bigger plan in motion back home. Because Cole didn't just want freedom from Rachel. He wanted Noah. Not out of love, out of legacy. A Harrington son meant status, tradition, power, and Cole refused to let Rachel ruin Noah with her softness and independence. He'd even told Lydia one night, while swirling a glass of old scotch in their suite, "Noah needs a stronger environment. Once things are settled, he'll spend more time with me. It's better for him." Lydia, too inexperienced to hear the warning, had simply nodded. What Cole didn't know, what he couldn't have imagined, was that Rachel had already seen the messages confirming his intentions. She knew he wasn't just cheating, he was preparing to erase her. And while Cole toasted champagne in Aspen, believing his life was aligning perfectly, Rachel made the most terrifying, irreversible decision of her life. The moment he stepped onto the plane home, Cole Harrington believed he was returning to a life he controlled with an iron grip. He had no idea that grip had already snapped. But the real shock wasn't that Rachel left him. It was that someone else besides Rachel already knew how dangerous Cole truly was, and was quietly preparing to stop him. Rachel never imagined her breaking point would happen in a grocery store parking lot, but life rarely breaks where it's convenient. It was December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. The icy Connecticut wind slicing through her thin coat as she lifted Noah from his car seat. His cheeks were flushed, his little body warm against her shoulder, too warm. She pressed her palm to his forehead. Fever. Again? She checked her phone. No missed calls, no messages from Cole. He had left that morning for a critical year-end meeting in Manhattan. Rachel knew now that it had been a lie. She didn't know he was in Aspen yet, but she felt the lie anyway, like a cold breath across the back of her neck. Inside the store, Noah grew sleepy and clingy. Rachel rushed through the aisles, grabbing children's fever, medicine, and broth, her hands shaking as she pushed the cart. Noah laid his head on her shoulder, whimpering softly. She kissed his hair, whispering, "We're okay, baby. Mommy's here." At checkout, the cashier, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, glanced at Noah and asked quietly, "Is he sick? You look like you've had a long day, hon." Rachel smiled faintly. "Just a fever. Long week." He was Story. The woman bagged her groceries gently, studying her the way only strangers can, recognizing exhaustion without needing the full story. But the moment Rachel stepped outside, her phone buzzed. She froze. A text from a friend who worked at the same company as Cole. Someone who had seen something she wasn't supposed to see. "Are you okay? I think you should see this." Attached was a photo. Cole. In Aspen. Fireplace glowing behind him. A luxury suite. And Lydia tucked under his arm, kissing his jaw. The caption posted by Lydia herself read, "Christmas with my favorite person." For a moment, Rachel couldn't breathe. The world dimmed around her. The photo blurred as tears filled her eyes. Her fingers tightened around Noah, holding him as though he were the only thing keeping her upright. She didn't scream. She didn't collapse. She simply stood there, letting the truth wash over her like ice water. He wasn't at a meeting. He wasn't working. He chose someone else on Christmas. And he chose to leave her with a sick child. A car pulled up nearby, its headlights spilling across the pavement. The driver was Dr. Adrian Wells. He had stopped by the store after his shift, still in navy scrubs, exhaustion written across his face. He noticed Rachel first, how still she was, how Noah clung to her, how the wind pushed against her as if she might break. Then he saw her eyes. Shattered, silent, wide with a kind of grief he recognized. "Rachel?" he asked carefully. "Are you okay?" She blinked, a single tear sliding down her cheek. "Not really," she whispered. Adrian stepped closer, not touching, not prying, just offering presence, the kind that doesn't need explanation. And it was in that parking lot, under flickering streetlights and a broken sky, that the first person finally saw Rachel's pain, and didn't look away. The night after the grocery store incident felt heavier than any night Rachel had lived through. Snow pressed against the windows, the kind that blanketed the world in silence, as if begging her to finally listen to her own heart. Noah lay asleep on the couch, wrapped in a soft blanket, his fever dropping slowly after medicine and warm soup. Rachel sat beside him, one hand on his small back, feeling each rise and fall of breath like a fragile promise she needed to protect. But her mind was far from calm. She kept replaying the picture Cole in a luxury suite, holding Lydia with the same arm he once wrapped around her. The words, "Christmas with my favorite person," carved themselves into her memory like a wound that wouldn't clot. Every inhale hurt. Every exhale felt stolen. She thought she had already hit rock bottom in her marriage, but now she realized what true betrayal looked like. Not the affair itself, she had sensed that long before the photo. No, the real betrayal was that he left her alone with a sick child on Christmas and felt nothing. At 2:07 a.m., Noah stirred and whimpered, reaching out. Rachel pulled him into her lap, rocking him gently. Her tears landed softly on his hair. She whispered, "I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry." Not because she caused the pain, but because she had stayed with a man capable of it. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table. She flinched. A message from Cole. "Forgot to tell you, we're extending the trip. We'll be back after Christmas Eve. Take care of Noah." Take care of Noah. As if Noah wasn't his. As if parenting was optional. Rachel stared at the message until her eyes blurred. She realized, with terrifying clarity, that if something happened to her, if she got sick or injured or simply couldn't protect, Noah Cole would swoop in and twist the narrative. He would claim she was unstable, overwhelmed, unfit, and with his status, his wealth, his carefully built reputation, people would believe him. That was the moment something snapped. Not a loud snap, not a dramatic collapse. Just a quiet, steady break. She remembered what Adrian had said before leaving the parking lot. "If you ever need help, even just someone to listen, you can knock on my door." It wasn't a rescue, it was recognition, something she hadn't felt in years. But she couldn't rely on anyone yet. She needed control. A plan, a way out. She wiped her tears, stood up, and walked to the small drawer beneath the stairs. Inside were documents she had collected over the years. Noah's birth certificate, medical files, her old passport, and the marriage certificate that suddenly felt like a contract written in someone else's handwriting. Her hands steadied. She gathered everything, placing them neatly on the table. Then she opened her laptop, searched quietly, carefully, painfully. How to change a child's last name in Connecticut. Emergency custody laws. Financial rights of stay-at-home spouses. Each click was a step away from him. Each document she saved was a piece of herself she reclaimed. At 3:41 a.m., Rachel looked at her sleeping son and whispered a promise. "I won't let him take you. I won't let him take anything anymore." But she didn't know that someone else had seen Cole's Aspen post too. And what they did next would change everything. By Christmas Eve morning, Rachel had barely slept. Her eyes were swollen, her body drained, but her mind sharper than it had been in years, moved with quiet determination. She needed proof. Not suspicions. Not instinct. Concrete evidence that Cole was a danger to Noah's stability and to her freedom. While Noah napped in the bedroom, Rachel sat at the kitchen table, her laptop open, the house silent except for the hum of the heater. Her fingers trembled as she typed Cole's email password. He used the same one for everything. His arrogance made him predictable. Within seconds, she was staring at months of messages. Travel receipts, hotel confirmations, even a jewelry purchase from Tiffany & Co. that she'd never received. But then she found something far worse. A forwarded email chain between Cole and his father. Subject line: "Preparing for custody." Her heart slammed. She clicked it open. Cole had told his father he was concerned about Rachel's emotional stability and believed she was not equipped to raise a child long-term. He wanted advice on filing for custody once the timing was right. Rachel covered her mouth to keep from crying out. He wasn't just having an affair. He was preparing to take Noah from her. Her hands shook so violently she had to press them flat on the table to steady herself. She scrolled down further. More emails, more plans, more lies. And then she found the message that broke her. Cole: "Once Rachel is out of the house, Noah can stay with you for a few months until I finalize things. She won't fight back. She never does. Never does. Never fights." never leaves. He believed she was still trapped in the quiet girl he had molded. But he was wrong. She pushed back from the table, pacing the kitchen on unsteady legs. The fear was still there, thick and choking, but beneath it, something else stirred. Something like fire, something like anger. Something she had forgotten she was allowed to feel. No more being small. No more being silent. No more letting him write her story. She opened the file folder where she kept Noah's birth certificate. She stared at the last name Harrington and whispered, "Not for long. Thanks for watching." End quote. Just then, her phone buzzed. Not Cole. Not Lydia. A message from an unknown number. "Hi Rachel, this is Dr. Wells Adrian. I hope I'm not crossing a line, but I saw the picture of Cole in Aspen. If you need help in any way, please tell me. No judgment." Rachel froze. Her breath caught. Someone knew. Someone saw. Someone cared enough to reach out without prying. Her fingers hovered above the keyboard. Should she answer? Should she trust anyone? Before she could decide, Noah shuffled into the kitchen, dragging his blanket, eyes half open. "Mommy," he mumbled, reaching for her. "Don't be sad." She lifted him into her arms, burying her face in his hair. This wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. It was about survival. She placed Noah down gently, then turned back to the laptop. She clicked on a government website. Request to change minor child's last name. The decision was made. But Rachel had no idea that the moment she filed that request, she triggered a domino effect, one that would expose secrets even darker than she imagined, and involve people she never expected. Rachel had never planned anything bold in her life. She wasn't the type to gamble, defy, or run. But on the morning of December 24th, with Noah resting on the couch and weak winter light spreading across the floor, she transformed from the quiet woman she once was into someone new, someone deliberate, calculating, and terrifyingly calm. She printed the last name change form, her hands steady now. The courthouse would open for half a day on Christmas Eve. She had one chance, one window, one path forward. She packed lightly. Noah's birth certificate, birth. Medical records. Her driver's license. Noah's favorite fox toy. Printed screenshots of Cole's emails. Each document went into a plain folder she tucked inside her tote bag. Nothing suspicious. Nothing dramatic. If anyone saw her leave the house, they'd think she was running errands. But first, she needed to make sure she could disappear. She walked through the house that had held her captive for years. She unplugged her old laptop, took her sketchbooks, grabbed the small envelope of cash she'd hidden in a box of winter scarves. She packed Noah's clothes, some snacks, and the thermometer she used constantly during his fevers. At 10:12 a.m., she stood at the staircase, listening. Silence. A silence she used to fear now became her ally. She whispered to herself, "Don't look back." But of course she did, one last time. The walls that once trapped her now felt like witnesses watching, approving, urging her forward. She turned away sharply before doubt could take root. She dressed Noah warmly and strapped him into his car seat. He blinked up at her with those soft, trusting eyes that reminded her exactly why she was doing this. "Where we goin', Mommy?" he asked. "A safer place," she murmured. She drove the back roads, avoiding the main streets where Cole's family might see her. The courthouse stood small and unimposing, decorated with wreaths and red bows that felt cruelly cheerful. Inside, she submitted the paperwork with trembling but determined hands. The clerk glanced at her nervously when she reviewed the supporting documents. "You have a compelling case," she said carefully. "Given what you've provided, this may move quickly." Rachel nodded, clutching Noah's hand. "That's what I'm hoping for." By noon, the petition was officially filed. She stepped outside, the cold air hitting her like clarity. Snowflakes drifted around her, melting against her cheeks, a strange blend of winter and relief. But as she walked toward her car, she noticed something that made her pause. A black Mercedes SUV, Cole's father's car model, rolled slowly past the courthouse. Not fast, not careless, slow, as if watching. Rachel's heart slammed. Did they know she'd filed something? Were they tracking her? Had Cole's family already begun their own move? She pushed Noah into the car and buckled him quickly, glancing in every direction. Her breath came fast and shallow. Then her phone buzzed. A message. From Adrian. "Are you somewhere safe?" Her fingers tightened around the phone. Because suddenly, Rachel wasn't sure. And the danger she thought she'd escaped might have been following her all along. Rachel didn't drive straight home after seeing the black Mercedes. Home no longer felt like a destination, it felt like a risk. So instead, she pulled into a quiet public library parking lot, a place few Harringtons would ever think to step foot in. Noah slept in the back seat, his small chest rising and falling softly. For a moment, watching him, she found the courage she needed to breathe again. She checked her phone. Adrian's text still glowed on the screen. "Are you somewhere safe?" Her instinct screamed to ignore it. She couldn't bring anyone else into the storm she was navigating, not even someone who had shown her unexpected kindness. But something about the sincerity in his question tugged at her. It reminded her of a world beyond fear, a world where people cared without wanting control. Still, she typed nothing. Instead, she opened a new tab on her phone and searched short-term rentals in Connecticut, no credit check. Shelters for women with children. Freelance illustration, jobs remote. Every search felt like a small strike against the life Cole had built around her. But survival required more than a new roof. She needed money. She needed mobility. She needed to stay invisible long enough for the name change to finalize. She reached into her tote bag and pulled out the envelope of cash she'd saved secretly over the years, tiny amounts she hid whenever Cole gave her grocery money. It wasn't much, maybe a few hundred, but it was hers, and it had to be enough. Still, she needed one more thing, a place Cole would never think to look. Her eyes drifted to Noah's backpack on the floor. Inside was a children's book, one she often used to hide documents. But today, she reached past it and took out something she hadn't considered in years. An old business card from an art studio owner she once interviewed with before Cole convinced her she didn't need a job. The studio was 50 minutes away. She dialed. "Hello?" a warm voice answered. "Hi, this is Rachel Monroe. I don't know if you remember me, but..." "Oh, Rachel, yes, of course. Are you okay?" "You sound shaken." Rachel swallowed. I need work. Anything. And maybe a corner to set up for a few days." There was a pause, not suspicious, compassionate. "Come by," the woman said. "Right now, we'll make space." Hope flickered, small but alive. She started the car. But as she pulled out of the parking lot, her phone buzzed again. Another message. Not from Adrian. Not from anyone she wanted to hear from. It was Cole. "Rachel, where are you? Stop playing games. I'm coming home early." Her blood went cold. He was coming back. Earlier than planned. Earlier than she had prepared for. She pressed her foot harder on the gas, every nerve blazing with urgency. She had hours, maybe less, before he discovered the paperwork, the empty drawers, the quiet rebellion she had built piece by piece. But what Rachel didn't know was that Cole wasn't the only one heading toward the house. Someone else had been watching the Harringtons for far longer than she realized. By the time Rachel reached the Harrington house again, snow was falling harder, coating the driveway in a thin, glassy sheet. She didn't want to go inside, but she had no choice. She had to leave proof. Proof that she wasn't abandoning the marriage in madness, but escaping it with intention. Proof that Cole's narrative would not be the one etched into the court's memory. Noah slept peacefully in the back seat. She whispered, "Stay right there, sweetheart," kissed his forehead, and stepped out into the cold. Every step toward the front door felt heavier. Every breath tasted like fear and freedom at the same time. Inside, the air was still. The tree lights were unplugged, just as Cole left them. The suitcase he had thrown onto the floor lay untouched. His scent, expensive cologne, and silent cruelty lingered faintly. Rachel moved quickly. On the kitchen island, she laid out 3 things. The divorce papers signed by her, with detailed accounts of emotional neglect. A certified copy of Noah's last name change request, official, documented, irreversible. A handwritten letter, the only one she had rewritten 12 times before printing it in her shaking, fragile script. She read it one last time. "Cole, you will read this and think, I'm weak, you always have. But leaving you required more strength than staying ever did. Noah deserves love, not performance. He deserves safety, not strategy. He deserves a home, not a legacy built on fear. You spent years shaping a version of me you could control. But while you were in Aspen kissing someone who isn't your wife, I found the courage to become someone else. Someone who chooses her child over your expectations. Do not contact me unless through legal channels." Do not come looking for us. The law is already involved, and every step you take will be recorded. Your absence this Christmas gave me the clarity I needed. This is the last gift I will ever give you. The truth. Rachel. She placed the letter neatly on top of the documents and exhaled shakily, her breath fogging in the cold, dim room. Then she walked upstairs. The closets were empty, her clothes, Noah's toys, her sketchbooks, the last remnants of a life she once begged herself to keep intact. Only Cole's belongings remained, lined up perfectly like soldiers waiting for orders. Before leaving, she did something she never imagined she'd do. She walked into Cole's office, opened his perfectly aligned drawers, and took photos of every document, bank statements, emails he printed, folders marked private. She saved them to a flash drive and slipped it into her coat pocket. Insurance. For whatever fight he brought next. When she returned to the car, the driveway was darker, quieter. Noah snored softly. His innocence made her eyes sting. She buckled herself in, started the engine, and whispered, "This is the last time we ever call this place home." But as she pulled away, she didn't notice the silver sedan parked a block down, the same one she had seen circling earlier. Its headlights flicked on seconds after she left. Someone was following her, and they had no intention of letting Rachel disappear quietly. Rachel drove through the dark Connecticut backroads with both hands gripping the steering wheel. Snow drifted across the windshield like tiny ghosts, each one blurring the lines of the world she was leaving behind. Noah slept in his car seat, clutching his stuffed fox, unaware of the storm, literal and emotional, raging around him. But Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that the real storm wasn't behind her. It was following her. She checked her rearview mirror for the 10th time in 5 minutes. There it was again. The same silver sedan. Not too close, not too far. Just there, like a shadow refusing to detach. Her chest tightened. She couldn't call 911, not yet. Not until she knew whether it truly was a threat or her trauma gripping her imagination. She didn't want to start a chain of events she couldn't control. Not when everything depended on moving quietly. Just breathe, she whispered to herself. Think. Think. The art studio was 30 minutes away now. Her mind raced through scenarios. Would Cole send someone after her? Would his father? Would Lydia? The Harrington family had money, influence, connections, and a habit of making problems disappear. But they underestimated Rachel. They always had. A turn was coming up, a sharp right that led toward a small gas station perched on the outskirts of town. She flicked her blinker. The sedan flicked theirs too. Her pulse spiked. She pressed harder on the gas and made the turn quickly, the tires crunching over the icy asphalt. The sedan followed, maintaining the same slow, deliberate distance. 10 minutes later, she pulled into the gas station, pretending to need fuel. She parked near the pump, turned off the engine, and kept her eyes fixed on the mirror. The sedan pulled in. At the far end of the lot, engine running, headlights dimmed. Watching, her heart pounded so loud she feared it would wake Noah. She reached for her phone with trembling fingers, not to call Cole, never him, but to text the only person who had reached out without asking anything in return. She typed quickly, "Adrian, I think I'm being followed." Her finger hovered over the send button. She hesitated. Trust was a fragile thing. She wasn't used to having it. But then she remembered the look in Adrian's eyes at the grocery store, the quiet concern of someone who understood brokenness because he had lived his own. She hit send. Almost instantly, the typing dots appeared. "Adrian, where are you? Stay in your car. I'm coming." A shaky breath left her lips. Relief mixed with fear, because even if Adrian reached her, even if he believed her, even if he helped her, what if the danger wasn't outside? What if it was closer? The sedan's door opened. A figure stepped out, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a hooded coat, moving toward her car, slowly, deliberately. Rachel's blood turned to ice. She locked the doors, grabbed Noah's hand instinctively, and whispered, "Please, God, not now." The figure reached the edge of the gas station lights, face still hidden. And then a second car turned sharply into the lot, headlights cutting through the darkness. Adrian's car. And the moment he opened his door, everything changed. Adrian's car hadn't even come to a full stop before he stepped out, the freezing wind whipping his coat behind him. His eyes locked instantly onto Rachel's car, her terrified face illuminated by the dim gas station lights, and then onto the hooded figure moving toward her. "Hey!" Adrian shouted, his voice sharper than Rachel had ever heard. "Back up!" The hooded man paused mid-step. For a second, no one moved. Snow fell in slow motion, collecting on the shoulders of all three adults like a layer of dread. Rachel clutched Noah's tiny hand, her chest squeezed so violently she thought she might faint. Every cell in her body screamed danger. The hooded figure exhaled, a long cloud of breath drifting into the air. Then slowly, deliberately, he lifted both hands as if showing he wasn't armed. "Relax," the man said. His voice was low, steady, strangely familiar. "I'm not here to hurt her." Adrian took several steps closer, positioning himself between Rachel's car and the stranger. "Then what the hell are you doing following her through back roads at night?" Rachel's heart hammered as the man reached up and lowered his hood. Her stomach dropped. It wasn't Cole. It wasn't Cole's father. It wasn't a Harrington family spy. It was Evan Price, a quiet analyst who had worked under Cole at Harrington and Steele for years. Evan was known for being timid, overworked, and invisible. She had seen him once at a corporate fundraiser, standing alone near the bar. "Evan?" Rachel whispered through the cracked window. Why are you following me?" Evan looked exhausted, eyes red, cheeks windburned, coat dusted with snow. He swallowed hard. "Because you're in danger, and because I couldn't stay quiet anymore." Adrian studied him carefully. "Explain. Now." Evan glanced around the empty lot, then stepped closer, but not too close. He looked at Rachel with something that resembled fear and guilt intertwined. "I saw the emails," he said. "All of them. Cole's plans, his father's involvement, the custody strategy, the lies he's spreading about you at the firm." Rachel's pulse stuttered. "You read his emails?" Evan nodded. "I wasn't trying to spy. Cole sent one to the wrong chain last month. He panicked, yelled at me, made me delete it, but I saved a copy on a private drive. I've been afraid of him for years, Rachel. He destroys people quietly. Careers, reputations, families." Adrian's fists clenched. "Why follow her? Why not call?" "Because Cole knows you left," Evan whispered. "He landed early. He went home and saw the documents. He called his parents. They're furious. They're mobilizing everything. Lawyers, private investigators." He swallowed. "He's coming for Noah, tonight." Rachel's breath caught like a knife to the chest. Evan continued, voice breaking now. "I followed you because I knew you wouldn't be safe at home. I wanted to warn you before he caught up. He came, and cousin." Adrian stepped closer to Rachel's window. "Open the door," he said gently. "You're not driving anywhere alone. Not tonight." Rachel unlocked the door with trembling fingers. Noah stirred awake, whispering, "Mommy?" She pulled him into her arms, her voice shaking. "It's okay, baby, Mommy's here." But her eyes remained on Evan. "Is he coming now?" she whispered. Evan looked over his shoulder, toward the dark highway behind them. "Yes. And he's closer than you think." "Endes." Adrian didn't waste a second. He moved with the sharp, decisive energy of a man who'd faced emergencies before, just never one like this. "Rachel, get into my car," he said firmly. "I'll drive." "Evan, take her car and follow behind us. We can't leave it here. Cole will trace the plate in minutes." Rachel hesitated, hugging Noah tighter. "But, Rachel," Adrian said softly, meeting her eyes, "you're not safe in that car. You and Noah stay with me." End quote. Something in his voice, a steady certainty she hadn't heard from anyone in years, made her nod. She quickly transferred Noah, his blanket, and her tote bag into Adrian's SUV. Evan slid into the driver's seat of her Toyota, his hands shaking as he adjusted the mirrors. Just as Adrian turned the key in the ignition, the low growl of an engine echoed across the icy parking lot. Rachel's heart plummeted. A black SUV, tinted windows, driving fast. Too fast. Adrian inhaled sharply. "That's him. The Harrington family car. The one Cole drove when he wanted privacy." Adrian shifted into reverse and backed out so quickly snow sprayed behind them. Rachel clutched Noah to her chest, whispering, "It's okay, baby. Mommy's here. Mommy's here." The black SUV roared into the lot. Cole didn't even bother parking. He skidded to a stop near the pumps, headlights glaring like interrogation lamps. Rachel ducked instinctively, but Cole had already seen Adrian's vehicle. "Hold on," Adrian muttered. He hit the gas, spinning out of the parking lot and back onto the road. The tires gripped just enough for them to lurch forward. Evan followed close behind in Rachel's Toyota. Rachel dared to glance back. Cole's SUV shot out of the lot seconds later. He was chasing them. No hesitation. No fear. Just determination, the same chilling determination she had read in his emails. Adrian kept one hand on the wheel, the other steady on the gear. His voice was calm, controlled, but edged with urgency. "He's not going to get close. I won't let him." Rachel swallowed hard. "Adrian, he's dangerous. You shouldn't." "I know exactly what danger looks like." There was a story in those words, but there was no time to ask. The icy road curved ahead, winding through a forested stretch with no lights, no houses, no witnesses. Adrian's headlights cut through the darkness, revealing just enough road to follow. Behind them, Cole's SUV loomed larger. Evan's voice crackled through Adrian's speakerphone. Adrian had connected him automatically. "Adrian, he's speeding up. He's trying to overtake us." Adrian gritted his teeth. "Rachel, hold Noah tight." She pressed Noah against her chest. Her pulse thundered in her ears. Then, Cole's SUV swerved into the oncoming lane. He pulled up beside them, window down, face twisted with fury. Rachel had never seen directed so openly. He shouted something she couldn't hear, but his eyes said everything. "You will not take my son." Adrian's jaw tightened. "He's trying to force us off the road." The SUV jolted as Cole edged closer, metal nearly scraping metal. "Adrian," Rachel gasped. But Adrian wasn't panicking. He was calculating. "Evan," he said sharply, "when I brake, you cut in behind me. Block him." "What?" "Adrian, I'm not." "You can do it. Trust me. It's mine." Rachel clenched the door handle so hard her knuckles whitened. Cole swerved again, harder this time. Adrian slammed the brakes. Everything lurched. Rachel's scream caught in her throat. Evan's car shot forward, sliding perfectly between Adrian's SUV and Cole's, forcing Cole to brake violently to avoid collision. For a split second, the world went still. And that moment of stillness was all Rachel needed to realize. Cole wasn't going to stop. Not until he had Noah in his hands again. And not until he destroyed her completely. Evan's sudden maneuver bought them precious seconds, but seconds were all they had. Adrian hit the gas as soon as Cole's SUV jerked backward, the tires spinning over the icy asphalt before finally gripping. Rachel held Noah so tightly he whimpered, but she couldn't loosen her arms. Not tonight. Not while Cole's rage clawed at their rear window like a monster, refusing to be left behind. Adrian's voice was deep, steady. "We're almost at the turnoff. There's an old maintenance road coming up. He won't know it exists." "How do you know?" Rachel whispered. "Because I used to take it when I lived out here. Trust me." His confidence was the only thing keeping her from falling apart completely. Behind them, Cole recovered faster than anyone expected. His SUV swerved violently, straightening with a growl of the engine. Headlights flared. He was coming again. Faster. More reckless. More desperate. Evan's trembling voice crackled through the speaker. "Adrian, he's accelerating. He's going to try to pass both of us." Adrian's jaw tightened. "Not if I make the turn before he sees it." Rachel shut her eyes, whispering, "Please, please." Then she felt it, Adrian slowing, but only barely. His hands tightened around the wheel as he scanned the trees. Finally, he spotted it. A narrow, nearly invisible break in the forest line, buried under snow. "Hold on," he warned. He yanked the wheel right. The SUV lurched violently onto the maintenance road, bouncing over frozen ground. Branches scraped the sides like skeletal fingers. Rachel braced Noah's head against her shoulder as the car rattled forward. Evan followed, skidding more than turning, but he made it in behind them. Cole didn't. His SUV shot past the opening at full speed, headlights cutting a straight, furious path down the main road. He hadn't seen the turn. At least not yet. Adrian cut the headlights. If he circles back, he won't spot us. They coasted deeper into the trees until the road curved behind an old, abandoned utility shed. Adrian eased the SUV to a stop, chest heaving slightly for the first time. Silence. Darkness. Breathing. Snow ticking softly on the windshield. Rachel finally let out a shaky sob, not from fear, but from the shock of still being alive. Adrian turned to her gently. You're safe for the moment, but we can't stay here long. And Sharoness. Evan pulled up behind them and stumbled out of Rachel's Toyota, slipping on the ice as he ran to Adrian's window. I think he's turning around. He realized, we're gone. Rachel's lungs tightened. Adrian stepped out, running a hand through his hair as he surveyed the road. We need to move again. But not the studio. Cole will search every place you've ever been. Rachel's voice cracked. Then where? Adrian hesitated. Just a second. But Rachel caught it. He did have somewhere in mind. Somewhere safe. Somewhere Cole couldn't reach. My place, Adrian said finally. Off-grid, no cameras, no records. He won't find you there. Rachel's breath caught. She didn't want to trust him. She wasn't ready to trust anyone. But right now, trust was the only thing standing between her and the man who wanted to erase her existence. Adrian opened the back door and met her eyes with steady calm. Come with me. I'll keep you both safe. And 40. And as Rachel stepped out into the freezing night, Noah clinging to her, she realized running had only been the beginning. The real fight was about to start. Adrian's off-grid cabin sat deep in the woods, accessible only by a winding gravel road covered in snow. By the time they reached it, Rachel's nerves felt like frayed wires, ready to snap. The small wooden house glowed with a single porch light, warm, steady, nothing like the cold perfection of the Harrington estate. Instead of marble floors, it had cedar walls. Instead of harsh silence, it offered quiet safety. Adrian carried Noah inside while Rachel followed, trembling but trying to stay composed. The moment she crossed the threshold, heat from the fireplace wrapped around her like a blanket she didn't know she needed. You can sit, Adrian said softly. You're safe here. Safe. The word almost broke her. Noah stirred in Adrian's arms, blinking sleepily. Adrian handed him gently to Rachel, careful not to startle either of them. Evan locked the door behind them, double-checking the windows as if expecting Cole to burst through the trees at any moment. Rachel sat on the couch, holding her son, watching flames dance in the fireplace. Her mind was still racing, Cole's SUV swerving, the hidden road, the way he shouted through the window. She felt the phantom echo of that fear in her bones. Adrian crouched in front of her. You're shaking. If you do miter of that. I'm fine, she lied. You're not, he said calmly, not accusing, just honest. Evan exhaled shakily from near the door. Rachel, I wouldn't have followed you if it weren't serious. Cole, he's been planning this for months. I think his father is helping him. They're ruthless. Rachel tightened her hold on Noah. What does he want? Why now? Why take everything from me? Evan hesitated. Because Cole's upcoming promotion depends on his family image. A messy divorce? A wife who leaves with the kid? That destroys his narrative. And he'll do anything to protect it. Adrian's jaw clenched. Everything he's doing revolves around control. It has nothing to do with love. Not for you, not for Noah. Rachel looked up, tears forming. How do you know? Adrian looked away for a second, pain flickering in his eyes. Because I lived this once. My ex's father tried to take my daughter from me after our divorce. Money makes people dangerous. Devon. Rachel's breath caught. He understood in ways she didn't expect. Evan stepped closer. There's something else. His hands shook as he pulled a USB drive from his coat pocket. This has every email, every document, every unethical thing Cole has done. It could end his career. Rachel stared at it as if it were radioactive. Why give this to me? Because you're the one he's hurting, Evan said. And because I'm tired of being afraid of him. Adrian turned to Rachel, voice low but steady. With this, we can protect you, but using it means war. Rachel swallowed hard. She had never wanted war. She had never wanted anything but peace. A family, safety, love. But love had never protected her, not the kind Cole gave. And peace had never existed under the Harrington roof. She looked at Noah, sleeping against her chest. War wasn't a choice anymore. It was survival. Rachel took the USB drive. Her hand no longer shook. Far away, on the same dark highway, Cole made a call that would ignite the next explosion. A call that meant he wasn't done hunting. The wind howled through the trees outside Adrian's cabin, rattling the window panes like warning taps from the darkness. Inside, the atmosphere was tense but purposeful. No one slept, not even Noah, for long. Rachel rocked him gently while Adrian and Evan sat at the wooden dining table, laptop open, the USB drive plugged in like a detonator, waiting to go off. Rachel finally laid Noah on the couch, covering him with a blanket. She joined the men at the table, her heart pounding as Adrian clicked open the first folder. What she saw made her breath stop. Dozens of documents. Spreadsheet after spreadsheet. Bank transfers. Hidden accounts. Wire payments to Lydia labeled as consulting fees. Misreported company expenses. Emails proving Cole had manipulated financial statements at the firm. Rachel covered her mouth. "This is illegal." Very, Evan murmured. "If Harrington and Steele finds out, Cole is finished. If the board sees this, he'll lose his position, his reputation, maybe even face charges." Rachel sank into a chair. "He didn't just betray me, he betrayed everyone." Adrian nodded. "And this gives us leverage. If he tries to take Noah or smear your name, we go to the board. We go to the state attorney, we go public if necessary." Rachel's voice cracked. "I don't want to hurt him. If you outlaw." Adrian's eyes softened, but stayed firm. "Rachel, he is already hurting you. He hunted you tonight. He would have forced you off the road without hesitation. This isn't about revenge. This is about stopping a dangerous man." Evan looked down, guilt on his face. "He threatened me last month. Said if I ever spoke against him, he'd erase me professionally. That's why I stayed quiet until now." Rachel reached out, touching Evan's trembling hand. "Thank you for telling the truth. I'd spend." But her gratitude was pierced by fear as Adrian pulled up one final folder labeled Custody Prep. Inside were drafts of statements claiming Rachel was emotionally unstable, prone to episodes, incapable of raising Noah alone. There was even a fake incident report Cole had planned to submit, claiming Rachel once left Noah unattended, something that never happened. Her hand flew to her chest, breath ragged. "He was going to destroy me. He still thinks he can," Adrian said. "Which means we need to move before he strikes again." Rachel looked toward the window, the forest outside dark and indifferent. She realized this wasn't just a legal fight, it was psychological warfare. Cole believed she was predictable, fragile, breakable. He didn't realize the quiet woman he shaped was gone. But Adrian's next words chilled her. "There's something you should know. Cole made a call after losing us on the road. He called someone named Brent. Does that name mean anything?" Rachel froze. Brent Harrington. Cole's cousin, a private investigator. One who specialized in tracking family matters. Her blood went cold. Adrian continued, "If Cole brings Brent into this, he'll track you. He'll find you eventually. Unless..." "Unless what?" Rachel whispered. Adrian met her gaze with steady resolve. "Unless we strike first." Rachel swallowed. "You mean expose him?" "Not yet," Adrian said. "We need to build something airtight. Something undeniable. And then we make Cole choose. Walk away or lose everything." Rachel looked down at Noah sleeping, small and peaceful. This wasn't a woman running anymore. This was a mother preparing to fight. But across town, Cole received a call from Brent. And the words he heard would turn this battle into an explosion. Cole Harrington stood on the side of the dark highway, snow swirling around him like ash from a burning life he refused to admit was slipping out of his control. His breath steamed in harsh bursts as he held his phone to his ear, pacing beside his SUV with the intensity of a man whose ego had just been publicly wounded. "Brent, tell me you have something," he snapped. On the other end, Brent Harrington, his cousin, a private investigator known for being cold, efficient, and unethical, spoke with unsettling calm. "I traced her phone for a bit. She turned off location services, but before she did, she stopped near a gas station, and then nothing. She went off-grid." Cole's jaw tightened. "She couldn't have gone far." "She's not alone," Brent continued. "I saw another car move with hers, a dark SUV." Cole's blood heated. "Adrian." He spat the name out like poison. "That doctor thinks he can play hero. He's been watching her. I told her he was trouble. I told her..." Brent cut him off. "Cole, listen. Rachel contacted a courthouse today. I'm getting the logs now, but..." A long pause. "She filed something. Because..." Every muscle in Cole's body locked. "What did she file?" "I can't confirm yet." "Find out," Cole barked, voice cracking with rage. There was another pause. It was a petition to change Noah's last name. Cole felt the world tilt. For a split second, his breath froze midair. "My son," he whispered. "She changed my son's name? She filed the request. If it's processed." "I don't care what it takes," Cole growled. "I want her found. She doesn't get to disappear with my child. She doesn't get to erase me." Brent exhaled sharply. "Cole, before you do anything rash..." "Rash? She stole my son. Legally, she didn't." "Not yet, but if you push too hard, you could make this worse. Especially if she has evidence." Cole stopped pacing abruptly. "Evidence? What evidence?" Brent hesitated. And in that hesitation, Cole understood. "She has something," Cole said slowly. "What did she see, Brent?" "I don't know," Brent admitted. "But she took documents from the house. And Cole, someone from your office may have helped her." Cole's stomach twisted. Evan. It had to be Evan. The timid analyst who always stared too long at Rachel during office parties. The one Cole bullied because he was weak. The one Cole underestimated. His grip tightened around the phone. "She won't get away with this. Cole. I mean it. She thinks she can leave me? She thinks she can take Noah? She thinks she can smear my name? I'll take everything from her, before she takes anything from me." Brent's tone shifted, colder now. "Then you'll need to be smart. No more chasing her around like a jealous teenager. You want Rachel found? You want Noah back? Then let me work." Cole swallowed his fury. "Do it. And Cole, one more thing," Brent added. "Rachel wasn't running blindly. Someone is protecting her." Cole's eyes narrowed. "Who?" "Someone who knows exactly how to dismantle men like us." The line went dead. Cole stared at his reflection in the car window, eyes sharp, face twisted, hands trembling. Someone was helping her. Someone was building a shield around her. Someone was turning Rachel Monroe into a woman he could no longer control. His lips curled into a cold, terrifying smile. "Then I'll destroy them both." Important? The next morning, the world outside Adrian's cabin was a sheet of white, quiet, untouched, deceptive in its calm. Inside, the air was thick with tension as the three adults waited for the storm they knew was coming. Rachel barely slept. Each time Noah stirred beside her, she jetted awake, convinced headlights would sweep across the cabin windows. She rose before dawn, pacing the small living room, hugging her arms around herself. Adrian brewed coffee, the rich smell filling the room, grounding the panic, clawing her chest. "You need to eat," he said gently. "I can't," she whispered. "You have to keep your strength." Rachel looked up, eyes red but determined. "Do you think he'll find us?" Adrian exhaled slowly. "Brent is good, but this cabin, no digital footprint, no address in my name, no connection to you. It buys us time." Time. Not safety, but time. Evan sat on the edge of the couch, nervously wringing his hands. He looked even more frightened now than he had at the gas station. "Cole is unpredictable when cornered. He'll escalate." Adrian nodded. "Which is exactly why we need to finalize your protection strategy." He motioned Rachel toward the table. There were 4 stacks of documents. Financial evidence that could destroy Cole's career. Custody evidence proving his manipulation and emotional neglect. Witness statements Evan was drafting. A safety plan if Cole showed up. Rachel stared at the papers. "I didn't want my life to look like this." Adrian's voice softened. "No one does, but you're not alone anymore." Noah wandered sleepily from the bedroom, clutching his fox toy. "Mommy?" Rachel scooped him up, pressing him against her. "I'm here, sweetheart." For a moment, it felt like a real family. Adrian watching them with quiet tenderness, Evan offering a nervous smile, the fire crackling in the background. But the moment shattered with a single sound. A sharp crack in the woods. Then another. Evan jumped to his feet. "What was that?" Adrian moved to the window, pulling the curtain back just an inch. His expression hardened. "Tracks." Rachel's blood iced. "What kind of tracks?" "Fresh tire tracks. Not ours." "If you keep her..." Evan's voice broke. "Oh God, did he find us?" Adrian raised a hand. "The car's not visible, but someone stopped near the main road. They walked into the woods." Rachel's knees nearly buckled. "Cole?" she whispered. "No," Adrian said, scanning the trees. "Too light. Cole is heavier. These look like a single person. Could be Brent." Rachel clutched Noah tighter. "Adrian, what do we do?" He stepped away from the window with sudden resolve. If Brent is tracking you, we can't stay here. We have to move you somewhere he can't access, somewhere he'd never think to look. Evan's eyes widened. Where? Adrian hesitated for the first time. There's a colleague I trust. A judge. Retired. She lives off the grid in Vermont. No one knows her address. And she owes me a favor. Rachel swallowed hard. A judge? Yes. She can help expedite your custody protections. Noah tugged Rachel's sleeve. Mommy, are we leaving again? She kissed his forehead. Yes, baby. Mommy has to keep you safe. Adrian grabbed his keys. Pack everything. We leave in 5 minutes. But before anyone could move, a shadow crossed the window. All three froze. Adrian whispered, barely audible, "We're out of time." For a split second, no one in the cabin moved. Not Adrian, not Evan, not Rachel, with Noah trembling in her arms. The shadow outside clung to the window like a stain, stretching long across the porch. Snow continued to fall, muffling sound, thickening the dread until it felt like the air itself might crack. Adrian raised a finger to his lips, silent. He moved first slow, controlled, every limb coiled with tension. He stepped toward the door, grabbed the fireplace poker with his left hand, and motioned for Rachel to retreat deeper into the cabin. Rachel backed away, clutching Noah, her heartbeat a violent drum in her chest. Evan whispered shakily, "Adrian, what if it's Cole?" Adrian's jaw tightened. Cole wouldn't approach quietly. He'd storm in. He pointed to the window. This one is watching. Rachel felt ice settle in her bones. Brent. Adrian didn't disagree. Another shadow moved across the window, closer this time, more deliberate. Evan panicked, grabbing a frying pan like it was a weapon. Do we call the police? Rachel shook her head instantly. If we call them, they'll run the plates. If Cole's family is involved, they'll know exactly where we are. Adrian glanced back at her, impressed by her clarity despite fear. She's right. We handle this ourselves, but we need to buy time. He approached the door, standing just out of view of the narrow window. Rachel, bathroom, second door on the left. Hide there with Noah. Lock it. Rachel didn't argue. She hurried down the hallway, Noah clutching her neck. Inside the tiny bathroom, she sat on the floor, holding him close. Noah whispered, "Mommy, is it a monster?" Her voice trembled as she kissed his hair. "No, sweetheart. It's just someone who doesn't know they can't scare us." But her hands shook. Outside, the porch creaked under approaching footsteps. Evan let out a soft, terrified gasp. Adrian inhaled, slow and steady. Then he acted. He yanked the door open. The blast of freezing air rushed in, along with a tall figure bundled in a winter coat. Brent's hood fell back as he stumbled forward, clearly not expecting the door to swing open so abruptly. Adrian held the poker raised. "Back up, now." Brent recovered quickly, faster than Adrian anticipated. He straightened, smirked, and lifted both hands casually. "Well," Brent said smoothly, "that saves me some trouble. I thought I'd have to break the door down." Evan's voice cracked. "Brent, leave us alone. If we won." Brent's gaze swept the room and lingered on the hallway where Rachel had disappeared. His smile widened, vicious. "She's here." Adrian stepped between Brent and the hallway. "You're not taking her. Or Noah." Brent laughed softly. "You're a surgeon, Adrian, not a soldier." His eyes flicked to the poker. "And you're outmatched." Adrian didn't flinch. "Maybe, but you step forward, and I guarantee you don't make it to the highway." The tension grew thick, dangerous. Brent shifted his weight, preparing to lunge. Then, the sound of an engine roared outside. Headlights flashed through the window. Tires skidded on snow. Someone else had arrived. Brent's expression snapped from smug to startled. Because the vehicle outside wasn't Cole's. And it wasn't law enforcement. It was someone neither side expected, and someone whose arrival would flip the entire battle on its head. The retired judge Adrian had called hours earlier, had come to them. The cabin door rattled again, not from Brent, but from the roar of an engine outside. A second pair of headlights cut across the snow, flooding the living room with white-blue light and freezing every person inside. Brent's confident smirk vanished. Adrian moved first, stepping toward the window, poker still in hand. Evan crept beside him, trembling but curious. The car door outside slammed shut. Footsteps firm, steady, crunched through the snow. Then a woman's voice, sharp and unmistakably authoritative, rang out. "Brent Harrington, Step away from that door. Now. Brent's face drained of color. No, 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 no. Adrian threw open the cabin door. And there she stood, Honorable Judge Marin Whitlock, retired family court judge, wrapped in a heavy navy coat, snowflakes settling in her silver hair. Her presence filled the entire porch with an aura of unshakable power. Brent, she repeated, if you take one more step inside this home, I will personally ensure you lose every investigative license you've ever obtained. Brent tried to gather himself. Judge Whitlock, you shouldn't be here. You're interfering with a family matter. This stopped being a family matter, she said coldly, the moment you stalked a woman and her child across state lines. Brent stepped back. I was hired. I don't care who hired you. Leave, now. Brent's jaw tightened. He glanced at Adrian, then at the hallway where Rachel hid, calculating, desperate, but Judge Whitlock didn't flinch. Brent, you will leave, she said, voice low and dangerous, or I will call the state police myself, and you will explain why you're trespassing with intent to intimidate. Brent hesitated, then cursed under his breath and stormed off the porch. Snow sprayed as he stomped toward the woods, choosing darkness over handcuffs. Only when the sound of his boots faded did Judge Whitlock exhale. Adrian, she said, help me inside. We're out of time. He guided her in, locking the door behind them. Rachel emerged from the hallway, still holding Noah, tears streaking her cheeks. Judge Whitlock looked at her not with pity, but with fierce, unwavering understanding. You must be Rachel Monroe. Rachel nodded shakily. I didn't expect you to come. I wasn't going to let a mother fight a machine alone. If you want it. Judge Whitlock removed her gloves, revealing a stack of documents inside her coat. She spread them out on the table beside Adrian's files. Rachel, she said, I reviewed everything Adrian sent me. The emails, the financial records, Evan's testimony, and what I see is a man unfit for sole custody and a woman who needs immediate legal protection. Rachel swallowed hard. What does that mean? Judge Whitlock looked her directly in the eyes. It means that as of this moment, I am filing an emergency protective order on your behalf. Cole cannot come within 300 feet of you or Noah. Rachel gasped. And, the judge continued, I am initiating an emergency custody petition, granting you temporary full custody, effective immediately. Noah blinked up at the judge. Does that mean Mommy won't be scared anymore? Judge Whitlock's eyes softened. That means Mommy doesn't have to run anymore. Rachel broke. Tears spilled as she hugged Noah, sobbing into his little shoulder. Adrian placed a hand on her back, steady, warm, present. Evan wiped his own eyes, relief washing the fear from his face. Judge Whitlock gathered the papers again. Tomorrow morning, she said, Cole Harrington is going to wake up believing he still has power. By sunset, he'll realize he never did. Rachel looked up, voice trembling. And us? What happens to us? Judge Whitlock smiled gently. You rebuild, you heal, and you live a life he can't touch. Adrian stepped closer, his voice warm, certain. Rachel, you're safe now. Really safe. For the first time in years, Rachel believed it. And as snow continued to fall outside the cabin, burying Cole's tracks and his control over her life, Rachel Monroe finally stepped into a future she chose. A future with her son. A future with safety. A future with dignity. A future with love, waiting patiently beside her. Her story didn't end in escape. It ended in freedom. And just like that, our story closes its final chapter. But hey, you're still here, aren't you? If you stayed until this moment, it means something in Rachel's journey touched a quiet place inside your heart. Maybe a memory, maybe a fear, maybe a hope you haven't dared to say out loud. So let's breathe together for a second and look at what this story is really reminding us. Sometimes life breaks us in the dark before it rebuilds us in the light. Sometimes people we trust show us their truest nature, not to destroy us, but to guide us back to ourselves. And sometimes, like the Stoics said, the obstacle is the way. Every pain becomes a doorway. Every betrayal becomes a mirror. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Rachel didn't win because she fought harder. She won because she finally chose herself. Maybe that's why you're still here. Because a part of you knows you deserve safety. You deserve respect. You deserve a life where peace is the default, not the exception. If Rachel's courage stirred something in you, then do me one small favor. Like this video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe so you don't miss the next story that could change the way you see your own life. We're here. We're healing, and we're growing together.